bird character, which has very different anatomy, but not really. It's just longer in some spots, shorter in other spots. So we're going to take a practice piece of paper and fold it in half so that we can have a regular human on one side and then a bird man on the other side.
I agree.
All right, let's do it.
So let's start with our simplified skeleton. We're going to put our head somewhere near the top of the paper, about the size of a quarter. This is just a little mannequin guy, so not stressing too much about getting the most perfect head.
You did an oval instead of a...
Here's my original circle here, and I just added a chin.
Oh, got it. Okay.
You can do a pointy chin, square chin, whatever you want.
Okay, got it.
Then we've got our neck connecting to our head. So I just got a little bit kind of toward the back. Notice it's not popping out like a head on a stick, a decapitated head on a stick. That's a little awful. So we're going to move it a little bit to the back. And then we've got kind of an egg shape, flattened egg shape for a rib cage. And I'm going to stick my center line a little bit more on the right, so I've got a big side and a skinny side. You can do the same thing with the face if you like, then everything's nice and coordinated. Whoa, focusing issues. There we go. Also keep in mind, you know how we do that little oval on the side of the head and go, that's flat, don't put anything there. Same is true for our bodies. We've got a front side of our body and a side of our body. So this side here, don't put any chest muscles, don't put any stomach muscles, that's all the side. Then right underneath our egg, we're going to stick two ovals in kind of a really wide heart shape as a simplified pelvic bone. And we'll connect that to the rib cage with a little lumbar support there. And then to attach the legs, we have to remember we have to go down about 2/3. And that's where the legs are going to attach. On one side, we can see the whole circle because it's near us, and on the other side, it's overlapped by that pelvic bone. Let's zoom in a little closer. There we go.
So is that a place there, right, where you would be beginning to distinguish a male from a female bone structure? So if the females would be just a little wider.
Yeah, you just go a little wider for ladies and a little bit narrower rib cage, and then for men, you just widen it out. And then if you're getting into really, like, you know, Saturday morning cartoon types where they're ridiculously proportionate, you know, I mean, you can still say, okay, well, there's a rib cage in there, and there's a teeny tiny pelvis in there somewhere, right?
Now, am I seeing that right, that the right side of the pelvis is a little narrower and smaller than the left side, right?
Yes, but do you know why?
Because he's turned.
Yes.
And he's farther away. He's foreshortened.
Foreshortened in size. Lovely. And then we remember a nice trick that most characters, if you go from the top of their head to this line where the legs connect, you have just found how tall their legs should be when they're standing. So we just double that height. Woo, I just made it right to the bottom of my paper.
I didn't even get close. I'm off.
You're off the paper. Oh dear.
I'm off the paper.
So to fix that, next time you either have to make a smaller circle. Or you have to start higher on your paper, one of the two.
Yeah, I'm going to make a smaller, I'm going to fix it real quick right now. I'm going to make the, I think I made the body like a bug's thorax too big.
Too tall. Then I like to just do the legs as one big line. So I can pose it however I want it when I'm actually drawing. He'll be taking a step. And then I find the knees afterward instead of going from hip to knee and then knee to ankle and ankle to foot. I find it just easier to do the whole thing and then come back and divide and say, well, the ankle has to be on top of the foot. And now I've got this much leg and the knee should be somewhere in the middle. And then you can find your knees. And then for the arms, we can't connect it directly into the rib cage. We have that little cupid's bow that we draw in front. That's a little bit overly detailed. I'm just going to do a straight bar today. Shortcut. And the arms are going to connect right on that line, just like we did with the legs. If it's behind the rib cage, we can only see part of it. And again, I like to do the whole line, just so you can gesture the arms any way you want to. If you're not sure where the elbow is, somewhere from the arch in the rib cage, which I drew just now, is usually where the elbows land. And the wrists generally land on the same line as the hips. It's all very convenient. And you can just take those measurements, make sure they're about the same on the other side, unless we have some kind of foreshortening going on. And you have completed your simplified skeleton. If you have a kneading eraser, this would be the time to kind of lighten up your lines so that when you put muscles on top, they don't get too confused. Or if you want to switch to a different colored pencil, that helps too. We've been going over the muscle groups fairly accurately, scientifically, medically, but it often doesn't show up in the final character because we've got the layers of fat, the layers of skin, the layers of clothing. So it's the most important things to remember aren't every single muscle group, it's just which ones are on top or overlap another. So when you're trying to figure out the chest, the shoulder, which one's going to come more forward. So let's start with the shoulder here. We know we've got a shoulder muscle that starts right at the top of the arm here. Kind of an upside down raindrop. And we know that we have some chest muscles that'll go about halfway down from the pit of the neck to the thoracic arch, about halfway down there. Start of the chest. So what's going to happen is, since it goes and connects underneath this muscle, the shoulder is going to go on top of it, overlap it. However, on this side, our chest muscle is going to be closer to us than the shoulder muscle, so the shoulder is going to go behind. Then for the stomach muscles, we're going to go just from this front portion of our rib cage down to the bottom of the torso. Just some guidelines. Lightly. You can stick in a belly button somewhere in between the top of the hip and the bottom of the rib cage. And if you've got a really strong character, you have fairly straight lines by the belly button, and then they'll get a little more tilted and a little more tilted as you go up the thoracic arch, or up to that point. And then there's the center line that we don't draw as one single line. We try to break it up a little bit so that it doesn't get too harsh here and just shows the division of each of the ab muscles there. Then we've got little tiny muscles all over the place along the ribs. I'm just going to stick in a couple of little sideways T's just to remind us. There's a whole bunch of little muscles in there. But unless you're drawing Superman or let's see, the Hulk, most of the time these tiny little muscles won't show up. Then if your character has any other flesh beyond this rib cage, these are actually the back muscles that are showing up to the front. On this side, we're not going to make this line like that because, like I said, back muscles, we can't see those back muscles as they're turning. So this side is going to stay pretty much the same. Might show a little bit of contour on those abs. Then on the arm, we've got this sort of point on the shoulder muscle, and we know that divides up a piece of muscle here and then a piece of muscle in the back. Biceps and triceps.
Which one did you draw first? I missed that.
I usually go for the biceps first because they're usually in front.
Okay.
Then for the lower part of the arm, I like to stick on a mitten or a hand so I know which side is the thumb side. And typically in a relaxed pose, I'll put the muscle bump on the thumb side. So it's going to come up here and bump out a little bit. And then I'll leave the pinky side fairly straight. On the other arm, we've got a little rotation going on. So the bicep is going to be on top, that oval muscle there. And we might only see a teeny tiny bit of the back of the arm. And then for the rest of the arm, I have to decide which way the hand is going. Let's say he's giving a thumbs up. Real simple mitten shape.
I think my arm is a little too long because it was down by his belly button. Let's see here.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's see if we can fix this sucker real quick.
I sort of had the same thing, and I could see it because the muscles, so I just shortened it up.
Yeah, they didn't line up at all. Why did Betsy's line up and ours didn't line up? I don't know. Okay.
Practice. Yes.
Pretty much, yep, just practice. So since I've got my thumb on this side, I'm going to put a little bit more bulge of muscle on this side, probably overlapping that bicep. And then on the pinky side, fairly straight. Then we'll move down to the legs. We've got great big muscles that come down from the top of the pelvic bone all the way down to the knee, and we're going to make something of an upside down kite with some long lines, short lines. This inside line is going to separate off a triangle of muscle that goes into the torso there. And right now the points of our kites are all in the same line. As you can see, they're all even. This is not great. Ideally, we would like them to tilt a little bit toward the inside. I'm going to adjust my line real quick so that my points don't line up quite so evenly. Then we've got the knee. We're just going to put some straight lines for a kneecap there. And generally, whatever direction the knee is pointed, the foot also has to be pointed in that same direction. It's very difficult to point your knee one way and then point your toes the other way. You can do it a little bit, but most of the rotation is going to come from the hips. So we want to keep the knee and the foot in the general same direction. Behind the knee, not a whole lot of muscle. We're just going to keep that flat. And then the calf, we know, has a bunch of muscle on top. Gets lean as it goes down to the ankle. On the other side, the leg is pointed more toward us. I'm just going to use this little triangle at the bottom of my kite for my kneecap. Go a little straighter at the knee, and then bulk of muscle at the top of this part of the leg, and gets leaner as it goes down. Ideally, we want that tilt for where our lines change direction. Then the ankle bone's not even. We've got a lower bone on the outside, higher bone on the inside. And then that foot is going to wedge right in between the two. We'll have our toe box. So in here, we're getting kind of geometric. You can come back and kind of clean up these shapes so that we're left with, like I said, just the kind of important overlap. So this line's going to overlap just a little bit, but not all the way up. Same thing on the other side. We need to decide that the torso is turning, so it's going to overlap the leg. Oops, I forgot about the neck. Neck has two parts, that V that goes from the ears right down to the pit of the neck. You won't be able to see the other side because the head's in the way. And then when you want somebody to give you a massage, it's usually this part on top that goes from the shoulder right back into that V. So now we get to take all of these muscles and try to apply them to this guy.
He's so cute.
Let's see if I can get, maybe I'll just put him over here. No, I don't think I can get all three on the screen. Oh well. We'll be
What is he? I mean, what's an arm?
Yeah, his arms are the wings.
Oh, that's a wing.
So there's the feather that's his thumb, and then he's got a couple more feathers wrapping around his fingers. So he can both fly and like manipulate things.
So then what's that? Is that his other arm coming back behind him?
His other arm is down here, yeah. This is his tail.
Oh, his tail. Boy, he is hard for me to see what he is. But okay, let's try to make it.
We'll go for it anyway, yeah.
I think that beak is going to be a challenge, man.
So his circle is not going to include any of that feather in the back. It's not going to include the beak. We're just looking at, oops, let me zoom in so you can actually see. All right, so it's going to be small compared to our quarter before. This is now a dime.
Oh, okay.
Leave a little bit on your page for this big feather that's going to come out later.
A dime, huh?
And his big long arm, we better go set the whole thing off to the right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we don't care about the scarf so much, so you can put them on the right.
Okay.
I like the scarf.
We'll let it blow the other way.
I'm playing.
Maybe a little bigger than a dime, maybe a nickel.
I just said that because mine turned out to be a nickel.
Yeah, yours is a nickel anyway. Yeah, all right. So we've got that there, and we'll go ahead and just stick on his beak right away.
Get that stress out of the way.
Triangle. A little flatter on the bottom, a little more curved on the top. We might as well throw on his big mohawk feathers here. Just so we'll know he'll fit on the paper. And again, we'll connect this to a neck, but his neck is probably longer than a normal human's. We're going to stick that out that way. I'd say it's almost the diameter of your circle. Just a hair shorter. And then his rib cage is going to end right at his belt. So it's going to be up here, and then we're going to have a longer lumbar section. So I'm going to stick that same rib cage up here. His is a little wider on top, narrower on the bottom. So I'm going to flip my egg upside down. And have his spine continue backwards. He's got quite a curve in his body, so we'll go back that way. And his pelvic bone, way deep in here, is probably narrower than his rib cage. So if you started with a really narrow rib cage and you can't go any narrower, go back and widen it out And then you can make his pelvic bone a little narrower than his rib cage. And same thing with the legs. We're going to have that line about 2/3 of the way down. Give ourselves a ball and socket representation joint there. But he has short little bird legs, only about as tall as his rib cage. So if we take the height of that rib cage and put it down here, his legs are only going to be about that big. And again, I'm just going to flow the legs down in kind of the sweeping motion that I want them to go.
I'm sorry, what did you say the length of the leg should be?
The same height as the rib cage.
Okay.
And after you have your legs gestured in there, you can figure out where the ankle and knee should be. And what's interesting is that our arm proportions are still the same, but because his torso is different, that's what's going to make them so long. So before we had the elbow that came to just about the end of the rib cage. That's still true. His elbow is still coming to about the same level as his rib cage. I'm going to throw on a simplified collarbone there. So his elbow is only going to go about that far. And then on a human, we are saying the wrist is about the same level as the hips. Still pretty much true. Yeah, his probably goes down just a little bit longer. And then his other arm is tucked more behind his body down here. Joints in the same places. Mine's leaning a little more forward than this guy. If yours looks like he's falling over, it's a real easy fix. You just have to move your spine over a little bit. And everything below the spine over a little bit. No, just the pelvis, I think. Because the legs can be more mobile than everything else. And this is why we start out with loose, sketchy skeletons in case we have to make adjustments. He still looks so tilted on the screen. He's not that much in real life.
He'd fall over if he were.
I know.
You can't have that.
Yeah, I'll just change the position of his leg.
I'm having a hard time getting his arms.
From behind his torso, huh? That one. That's
well, I think I have his elbows too low, and then His arms are down at his knees, but if I move
Take
the
a
elbow,
look. Can I see quick?
I sort of erased them.
Oh, you already erased them. All right.
But I think it was the elbow was really too low, and then once I moved the elbow up, everything all.
Yep.
I had trouble. Mine looks like it's kind of glued to its body.
Let me go ahead and make your screen larger here. Oh, that's glued to his body. Yeah, you can push it just more behind his body if you want, or else you can bring the arm just a little bit more forward. It's up to you. You really won't get that many tangents once we put his feathers on.
Yeah. Okay, I think I got everything about where it goes. A little bit below his hip on the.
Yeah, a little bit below. Let's see here. We got pretty much our skeleton. I'm going to change the angle of this one just a little bit. It seems to be holding his bow at a tighter angle than I had at first. Yeah, we'll go with that. So once you're reasonably satisfied with your simplified skeleton, we can erase it a little bit, make it lighter. Ooh. Careful of crumpling your paper.
I'm going with that.
The only real muscles that are going to show are on the arms, just the shoulder muscle and the bicep and maybe the tricep. So I'm going to stick those in first with his shoulder muscle. Since he is male, oftentimes male muscles are drawn with straighter lines just to show off the more masculine angled type body structure. So my raindrop is now going to be more of an unfinished kite. Then we're going to stick in, let's see which way is it rotated, this way. Yeah, we're going to stick in that oval muscle, a little more like a diamond. Just to get the shape, and then I'll go ahead and erase most of it so we can just keep our little overlap there and our little overlap there. And his thumb side is up. I'm going to just stick in a thumb right at the end of his wrist here. That'll be his thumb. So this top part is going to have the bigger muscle bump. It'll go right into there. We're probably not going to draw that really fancy bow that he has, but we can put in a simplified one. So I'm just going to sketch in a regular.
Oh, that's a bow. I can't.
Yeah.
I thought all of that stuff was parts of him, and I.
Oh, no.
Now he looks much clearer to me. See his fingers now and everything. Oh.
Yeah.
I can see clearly now. Aren't you glad I'm not in singing class with you, Kristen? Oops. Okay, there we go.
Okay, a bow. Sure.
He's got his one feather finger painted that way, and then the rest are going to be curving around. So we're just going to put in a couple of ovals. Keep in mind our overlapping. And then the bottom of his arm is straighter, but we have the feather texture. So I can lightly stick in a guideline that's going to be right about there. And then I can put in some little bumps for feathers all the way back to his elbow. Then for his neck, birds don't have ears, but if they did, it would connect right to the pit of the neck with their first neck muscles. And then from the shoulder, we'll go right back up into that V. And his body's going to be covered with all this armor, but we do want to know what is overlapping what, or more importantly, where is our simple side and where is our complex side. So this part of his body, the front part of the body, is stretched tight. So it's going to be the smooth side, the simple side. Just connecting his rib cage down to his hips. The other side is where we're getting some compression, where we've got rib cage, then the squishy stuff in the middle, then we've got another pelvic bone there. So we'll have some overlap. That will overlap that. That will overlap that. That will overlap that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I like that. And he's got kind of the gladiator skirt going on and really puffy pants. So rather than trying to figure out all his anatomy, I'm going to go for those big shapes. Sketching out the bottom of the gladiator gear. And it comes down into a V belt. Remember that V cannot be in the middle. It can't be like this, because our middle is where our V is, and we should have a skinny side and a wide side all the way down. So my V is actually over here. And I've got those puffy pants, so I'm just going to stick some partial ovals in there. Then we'll put the cuff. And pretty much the same thing that we were doing with people. We've got a smoother side where the bone is, and then we'll have a curvier side where more muscle is. I've got my flat side, my curvy side. Even his feet are fairly the same. They've got the wedge, and then his toes happen to be white, but there's still a toe box at the end of the wedge. So I come down first. I wonder if he has a third toe on the back. I think he has a third toe on the back, like most birds. For the front one, same thing. We're going to have that smoother side and then a bumpier side. And he's just got two toes pointed straight at us, so we're going to get some more oval looking shapes. Oops, I forgot my wedge. Wedge. So on my feet, one of them is lower and therefore looks closer to us, but that's not the foot that I wanted lower and closer to me. I wanted this one lower and closer to me. So that means I have to either push this one up and it's going to shorten his leg, or I have to bring this one down. I'm probably going to bring this one down. You get so into the details, you don't even know where you're drawing. Happens all the time. There we go, that's better. And then he's got a tail sticking out the back here. Another kind of kite shape. Well, we won't see the other side of the kite there. And then his other arm. We'll see the shoulder muscle a little bit, but we know that the chest is going to overlap. It might hide behind his body and then reemerge to show a little bit of that more angular muscle in kind of a diamondy shape. It's really dark, but this one might be in a fist. So I'm going to make my thumb right at the bottom of the wrist here. Just a little angle so that then I can wrap his other fingers around. And then put a little crossbar right where his thumb is tucking into his fingers. My thumb side is going to be my bumpier side, so I'll put a angle here for that muscle before it comes in. And on the other side, we'll have feathers. How far those feathers go? I think all the way down to his hand. I'll put my guideline. And then add some feathery bumps. My guideline there. We're not going to do all this armor. We'll do a little bit of it so that we can get some of the biggest shapes in here. Right above this first overlap is where this white armor is going to curve up a little bit. I'm just going to put in my first curve here. And then it comes from underneath his arm and goes, I can't really tell because there's a scarf in the way, so I'll just say it goes up like a normal tank top. And he's got his chest plate on top of there. So we're going to keep in mind the center line.
Hey, Betsy.
Hi there.
Hey, Michaela.
And then we'll make it a little bit like a diamond, a really wide, sort of faceted diamond shape. And to make it look a little more 3D, we need to give it some thickness, like an edge, a facet actually. I'll just carve off a little bit on the side. And by the shadow right here, I can tell that it also comes up in the middle. So I'll give a little indication of that.
Oh, hey, I have that exact figure.
Yeah, isn't it the amiibo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Then it's connected by this gray strap that's going to go around his body. So we're going to make it come a little bit farther out than everything else to show that it's wrapping around. On the other side too, we're going to wrap it around, make sure it sticks out a little bit from his body line. And then he's got some bird-like feather armor here. We're going to put shape on top. I'm not sure what it connects to.
Yeah, it does seem to be just floating.
Kind of floating there, so that's fine. We'll make it float.
Oh, hey, fun fact. That bird guy is not wearing any pants.
Oh, these are his feathers?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, he has a skirt.
For us.
This one's going to be a little skinnier for shortening. Probably going to run right into my beak, so I'm going to make it go a little bit behind. And then it has sort of a feather pattern on it, so we can put a couple of lines for the long feathers and a couple of smaller curves for the small feathers. And then we'll work on his face and give him facial features here. So we'll slice our circle in half. Oops, my page is tilted. There we go. And he has a very diamond-shaped eye.
Is that a straight across line, Betsy?
Yep, just straight across. And I think I'll place his eye above this line.
You know, I think I'll actually go get my figure to draw a reference from.
Yeah.
And he's looking to the back, so you can put a little curve on that side of the eye if you like. If you want to look forward, you can have it on the other corner. We've got some nice thick eyebrows, or maybe feathers.
I have found him.
All right, there he is.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's pretty awesome. Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
He's a good guy, but he's very smug and kind of mean to Link.
A little bit arrogant, that's okay. The best ones usually are. I'm sure he has superior marksman skills or something that
Yeah.
makes him indispensable.
I feel like, part of me feels like, yeah, this isn't a spoiler, but long story short, every single guardian, you know, like Nifa, the big, like the
Yeah,
big
big
rock,
prince guy. Mm-hmm.
and this guy, they're all dead. They're all
Dead?
dead. Yeah, they're all dead.
That's kind of a
Oh,
spoiler.
that's sad.
Yeah, although Link gets to like see their ghosts, but they're dead.
So like visiting him from the past.
Just when I was starting to like him.
Yeah. His beak is going to be right below his eye. That corner of it anyway, and then it'll go forward. And connect in there.
Yeah, at first I was like debating, like, huh, is that a spoiler? And it's like, nah, it's like they reveal pretty early on, like, about how like Link slept for like 100 years or whatever.
Oh, they did that in another game too, I think.
Yes. So yeah.
No spoiler for me because I won't be playing it. So party on.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me everything. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, he's dead. It's sad. One cool thing though is like their ghosts hang around you and they give you like once you beat like their boss, like the thing that killed them, each of them, then it's like they give you abilities, and they'll hang around you as kind of as ghosts to give you the abilities, but you can't talk to them, which is sad.
Yeah.
Oh well.
A little bit. She's got way more beak on top and just a little bit on the bottom. Let's get a little more bulk at the end though. Maybe. This picture didn't print very clearly.
What?
His beak shape.
Oh yeah, he's looks like this, if that helps at all.
Yeah, I got the same picture, but my
It's not quite a toucan. It's because that would be even bigger. But
yeah.
it sure is a big beak.
I feel like one of the things that sorry.
That's right, go ahead.
You know, one of the things that made the character so popular, or at least helped him into popularity, is the guy who voiced him, Scene Chiplock, I believe his name is. For a while, he like did voice lines. Like he would like dub characters, like or at least the ones like featuring his character, like in the voice.
Mm-hmm.
And he would do like requests, and it was so cool. But then Nintendo contacted him and told him to stop, so he doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I can see that. Using property that's not his, can't really do that.
Although sometimes they let you because it's making their character. So it's worth a try now and then.
Yeah.
Just, if they tell you to stop, you stop.
So he's got one section of feathers right here that goes right into his eyebrow. And then that other section that goes up top. I think I need to make my top section a little larger. And if you want to do the little color separation with some feathery marks, you can stick those in quick. We've only got about 3 more minutes, so we're just going to do a few more touch-ups.
No.
Dang
it. How do you do those braids?
Well, let's do a quick demo, and then you guys can finish that on your own time. So braids, let's do this back in here. There's 2 main ways to do it. One is that you make a zigzag. And then on each part of the zigzag, you put a little curve.
Oh.
So you get the shape of the braid that way. Another way is to start with little ovals and just offset them a little bit. Kind of like you're drawing wheat. And then you darken in just the outside line and maybe a little bit of where they overlap one another. I'm not really sure how he gets these braids. It's not hair, right? That must be more feathers.
I always assumed it's like long, like it's sort of like some weird like long feathers. Because like, if you look at the girls, like the girls don't have braids, but they still have like kind of hairdos in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's braided with raffia. See how the end is kind of.
Yeah, blunt.
Yeah, real blunt.
Turkeys have, male turkeys have this big thing of hair, that, very weird, that comes out of their chest, and it's hair, I think.
Oh, maybe it is hair then.
It amazed me when I first saw it. It's really ugly.
Not if you're a girl turkey.
I suppose not.
4:59. That's about as far as we're going to get.
Dang.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Let's see. Let's get your video up here.
Is this recorded, Betsy?
Yes, it is.
I made mine kind of small, and I wish I had, because then I could have got more detail. But you know, he's
You've
there.
got some good forms going on there, though. Nicely shaped torso and.
Right.
Look at those overlaps at the back. Those
That's
are what I like the best. Three little.
I think you got the curve of the body really good, Kristen.
Well, that was after a lot of moving. Oh, here he is.
Oh, there you go.
You got all those braids done.
Yeah, that's those braids already.
I like braids.
All right, yeah, you're good at them. You can have an even bigger beak, I think, on yours.
I could use a bigger beak, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, much bigger beak.
But your braids look fantastic.
Yes.
Okay.
Find the good, fix the bad.
Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and end.
Okay, can I show my thing off? It's barely anything, but I can show you.
Yeah.
Host
Wait.
disabled screen sharing.
Oops, I don't know why that's a default. That might have been with the new upgraded one.
Yeah, we did get upgraded, I think.
Yeah. Go ahead and try it now.
Okay, hold on. Give me a minute. Okay, there it is. Hold on.
Bigger beak in place.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Wow,
wow,
Right,
you're
it
fast.
always goes directly to like my art. Like for some reason, it directly goes over like my little thing that allows me to control what to see. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's
Pretty good for doing it in 5 minutes.
By
what we took an
seconds,
hour to
yes.
do.
Jeez.
thanks.
Portion, she's standing up. She's not tilted. Dang it. Okay. I'm jealous now.
Okay, let's cut it off.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
You are viewing Mikey.